Okay, today the training is GE, to how to be a GE. Certainly, if you want me to conduct this training, Elysia, the basis, I talk about this anything in Toastmaster based on the governing document to begin with. In Toastmaster, we had to go back to the Toastmaster way. Which way is closest to Toastmaster's way? Let me ask you a simple question. When you're not sure whether you can be a good GE, what does it tell you?
Not prepared enough for BDGE.
Okay.
Don't know anything.
Okay.
No confidence.
Why is it that you have no confidence? For me, when I have no confidence, it's because I don't know what is the right way to do it. When you don't know what is the right way to do it, so you don't know whether the way you do it is correct. Am I right? So in order for you to make sure you are doing it the right way, to me, the closest to the right way is to follow the documents. Do you agree? Let's get to the 3 documents that you really need to read if you really want to know what is the right way according to the TI documents, to TI policies. First, documents. You can go back to Club Leadership Handbook. In this Club Leadership Handbook, every role they describe, from president to VPE to VPM, all the way to SAA. If you go, you read the bottom, the end of every role they describe, they always have reference for you to see when you are in the meeting, what you should do. You go read that, that will tell you, in this book you can find where they will tell you how to conduct the right meeting. What is president doing in this meeting? What is VPE doing before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting? There's another document called Master Your Meetings. Yes, in this meeting, you will know everything about a meeting, what you should do, what you need to do, what is the TI proposed ways to do it. If you know exactly how a meeting should be, then you can do a good GE job. The third documents you should read is a Toastmaster wears many hats. In this book, it talks about every role in the meeting, what you should do before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. It is quite very detailed. If you have read these 3 books, you will know exactly every role, how it should functions. Okay. So what is that to do with GE as a GE? The role as a GE is to give feedback as to how a meeting should be conducted. Nonetheless, as a GE, especially in Toastmaster, when not everyone follows the documents, you need to consider it from different angles. Okay? To know exactly which every role functions according to the document certainly is the best step, the first step to begin with. It is the most accurate step to begin with. Then we go to the experience steps. Right now, I'm interpreting to you from the practical aspect, based on my experience, based on what I have considered, okay, on top of the documents. You want to consider the experience of every role players. When you are appointed as a GE, you want to ask the president, whoever invite you, usually is VPE, right? Or the Toastmaster of the evening. You want to ask further information of every role if there is a first timer. If there is a first timer, you want to watch out more. Certain Toastmasters, you know, they are very savvy. So for those who are very experienced and savvy, you probably want to consider deeper, more aspect. Let's talk about the culture aspect. What is the culture aspect? It is the practice of the clubs they want to have for the clubs. For example, one aspect is like GE introduction. Certain clubs, they want GE to introduce their team. Certain clubs, they want to introduce one by one. So this is considered as a culture of the clubs. For when I'm a GE, if I see that the club get the GE to introduce the entire team, you also need to consider how many points that you have to talk about. Don't forget that you only usually you have 5 minutes to 10 minutes. You can write down all these points together. But then when you have too many points, you want to pick the most important point to talk about. It is when you don't have much to talk about, then you can talk about, oh, I can see that as a general evaluator, when you give the feedback, you have to, in the back of your mind, you have to know that when you give the report, it is not only for the Toastmasters themselves to know. It is also for the guests, especially you have new guests, non-Toastmasters. Therefore, you want to purposely highlight it for them to know. You can say, okay, I can see that your club has the culture to get the GE introduce the team, which is very good. But once a while, you may want to make a change, do it a different way, introduce one by one. It is okay for a change. So you can encourage them, especially as new members. A lot of new members, they just learn from seniors. They don't know they can do so. You'll be surprised by highlighting this. The new members learn it. Another club culture is like certain club, they have the table topic session after the project speech. I think they have a logical reason to it. I'm not opposed. It is also a culture. So when you are a GE, you come to a club, you see something different. You don't want to suggest a change to people in a way telling them that this is not the right way. You should do it this way. Try to avoid like you should or this thing. You can check with them. Is this the way you usually do it? If they say, yeah, oh, okay, this is your culture. There's also one particular thing in the club that I saw as a culture. There's some club that don't address the Toastmaster title. Well, I don't agree with that. I would not say that they are wrong. I would say that I strongly suggest that you still call the Toastmaster with the title, because in Toastmasters, recognition is very important. Acknowledgement and recognition, this is what we live for. We work so hard, we do speeches, we get our title, right? So when we get our title, we want people to respect us, calling us our title. In terms of agenda, I would suggest that you do not want to suggest something that totally change the agenda, because agenda is also very personal to the club, how they want to design the agenda. Nonetheless, there's one thing I would suggest that you pay attention, and when I see that, I will highlight it. One thing is not allowed on the agenda is the company logo. Okay? A lot of those corporate clubs, they have the company logo on the agenda. I want to remind them. You don't use the word suggest, because that is not an option. That is a kind of violating the TI branding. You want to say that I would like to remind you that having your logo on this Toastmaster agenda is a violation of branding. Other than that, if the print is too small, you can suggest to be printed bigger. Of course, this kind of suggestion is entirely up to the club. Consistency, you look for some consistency on the agenda. And always sometimes I notice certain guests, a certain role player, they don't have the title, certain role player have titles, and then certain club officer, they have titles, certain club officer, they don't have titles. You want to look for consistency. And if you see something very good, you want to commend them. And if you see something good from other club, you can also suggest it to them for their reference. If that is the case, if you suggest something for that you saw from the club, other clubs, you want to use a word, I suggest for your reference. This is for your reference. This is not something they must do, but it's a reference, additional reference for you. You may consider. And when that is such a personal preference, you want to use a word. I personally suggest that. Yeah, like for example, the font is bigger because I'm an old lady. I always suggest the font is too small. I suggest to have a bigger font so they will laugh. Okay. Other practices, like in other clubs, you can suggest. It's good to suggest. These other things will be good to suggest. You may want to suggest to have an invocation session. Usually an invocation is like 3 to 5 minutes. Certain club, they even have 10 minutes. It depends how much time do you have. Because especially when you attend a club that have very low energy level. When the club have a very low energy level, it will be very good for you to suggest an invocation session. Another thing is good to suggest is called active listening, where you have an active listening master. This active listening master, they will pick up some questions to test your active listening. Then you have to reward whoever the winner, right? Well, you can reward them with a certificate, right? In online, it is very practical to reward them with a certificate. Also, you pick up some table topic session that are very interesting. You want to put it in your mind, store in your mind, and then you want to suggest it to the club. If you find the club table topic session is really not that interesting, you want to politely suggest it to them. I have some good suggestion for you on the table topic that I have encountered, I've experienced in other clubs. Initially, I always suggest people to turn their video off so that we can see the timer very clearly right on the top. As I have more experience, I realized that it will be good for the audience to turn on the video so that we will feel the audience more, have more interaction. I think we want to encourage the audience to turn on the video so that the speaker can see the audience and interact with the audience. These are the good suggestions that you make for I call it as other practices from other clubs. Now we go into the key part. This part I will spend the most time, the roles. Just now I say if you have a very solid foundation of the document knowledge, then you will do very well on this. But there are also practical things that you want to incorporate. One of the key functions of GE is to help every role to improve. Let me ask you the question. If you do not know what a role should be, how do you help them to improve? You cannot, right? Let's say starting from SAA, we run through the meeting from the SAA and we start the meeting. As an SAA, what do you expect? You guys unmute yourself. Now we have interaction section. Now you're at the GE. So anyone tell me, what do you expect to see SAA?
With a house rule.
Yeah?
Expect the SAE.
Expect what?
Expect the SAE to start the meeting on time and read all the house rules that they need to follow
Mm,
before at the start of the meeting.
mm. What else? You didn't say the most important thing. What else? Who can tell me the most important thing?
Get everyone to settle down.
Not the most important thing.
Make sure the setup is ready. I mean, the technical part is all run smoothly.
Okay. All this you say is by documents. Okay.
Okay.
But the most important part is start with a high tone, high energy.
Oh.
Okay. You want to suggest to the SAA, start with you imagine I'm the SAA. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the meeting. Okay, what we will have. I'm your SAA, Elysia Teh. Now we have the house room. So how do you feel? So at least you say, hello, everyone. I'm your SAA, Elysia Teh. Right? So it's a different. So when you hear the SAA is on you're too quiet, too soft, you probably want to suggest the SAA to work on this. Get excited, okay? Now we have president. Wow, our president Wallace. Okay, what do you tell me? What is your key role as a president opening speech?
President needs to welcome the guests and also give some inspiration, motivation talk, and yeah, that's it. Oh my God.
Okay, it's easy to say than done. What is considered as inspiration talk?
Inspiration. What was the question again? Inspirational. I think something to enlighten the mood of everyone, makes them feel like not sleepy and everything. I mean, make them feel like they are looking forward to this meeting. Is it?
All these are still very theoretical on documents. You underestimate how important it is. The most important thing as an inspiration is you want to share a personal story or a story that everybody can relate. Let's say if you share a story of Bill Gates, everybody knows Bill Gates, right? Then you share a story about yourself and relate to the theme. Acknowledge all the VIP as the guests to introduce themselves. I see a lot of clubs that this president's opening speech, they take too long of the time, but they don't allocate the time for it. You want to suggest to the club if presidents always take too long, longer than the time allocated. If the answer is yes, okay. If that's the case, I would suggest that you allocate the time for it. Be more realistic and practical. Because if the president himself doesn't follow the time, you don't set a good example. The Toastmaster of the day or Toastmaster of the evening, what do you want to suggest? There are many clubs, they tend to skip Toastmaster history. Do you agree to skip if everybody is a Toastmaster? And do you agree for them to skip? If you don't agree, why? If you agree, why? If you don't agree, why?
Disagree.
Why?
Because it is something very important. Sometimes even members forget about the history of Toastmasters. And yeah, it's kind of compulsory ritual for us to remember the founder of our club.
Yes. Well, I would suggest that you try not to use any compulsory. This is not because this is not mandatory. We want to encourage at the same time, you want to show that you understand them why they skip. Sometimes you can see that they are over short time and then they want to save some time. They have all these things, right? Then they try to do that. Then you want to show some empathy, show the understanding why they do it, but you want to suggest that they don't skip. And also we want to keep the spirit of Toastmasters. One key duty to a Toastmaster of the evening or of the day would be good to get a short introduction from the speaker. when you introduce the speaker, always good to give a very brief and short introduction to make the speaker sounds great, recognize the speaker. After that, we'll get into the evaluation session. Evaluation session, you certainly want to explain what is the role of the general evaluator in a very detailed way, in a very practical way. Of course, broadly, the GE have two aspects of the responsibility. One is you yourself and the observer give your overall feedback to the clubs. Another key aspect is you have to conduct the evaluation session. Okay. Now come to the evaluation session. How good you are as an evaluator is really, that time can really show. Because as a general evaluator, you should evaluate the evaluator. Not a lot of people evaluate the speaker. Of course, if the evaluator really didn't do the job of evaluating the speaker, you can add on top of. You want to evaluate the evaluator first before you add something to the speaker. But then for you to really be good at evaluating the evaluator, you really need to know how to do evaluation, how to evaluate. You need to know the purpose of the speech. You really want to speak out when you see the evaluator is not doing the job, to remind the speaker to be objective focused. Not only remind them, you also need to say something to demonstrate that you do understand what it is. As an evaluator, broadly, you as a GE, you want to hear from the evaluator on three things at least. One thing you want to hear from the evaluator, they will talk about if the speaker meeting the objective. And you want to hear from the evaluator whether they are balanced. On the evaluation, broadly, you have the speech itself, the delivery itself, right? And also the feedback itself. You want to hear from the evaluator to evaluate the speaker on the speaker's speech, how the speech itself, if it is good, what is good, and how the speaker should improve on the speech in terms of meeting the objective, the speech structure, the message, and the flow, and many things. You will also want to hear the evaluator to comment on the delivery, like body language, eye contact, vocal variety. You also want to hear the evaluator to give a very specific suggestion. So you want to remind the evaluator when you suggest something, you give a feedback, you want to show the speaker exactly, specifically how to do it, how to improve on it. The table topic evaluator, the most common one is they don't allocate equal time to all speakers. Okay, usually they will spend the most time on the first two speakers, and then towards the end, they knew that they were running out of time. They will rush it through. Then when you see that, you want to say something about it to help the evaluator to improve. When commenting on this evaluator, whether project speech evaluator, table topic evaluator, or the technical evaluator, even before you start the meeting, you want to pay attention to the agenda if they have allocated time in between the evaluator, if they have allocated time for the general evaluator to give their comment, to give their feedback. The meetings time usually have not been allocating time for the GE to make the comment, to do the feedback. Then you can suggest to the club, between every evaluator, allocate 1 minute or 30 seconds for the general evaluator to make a comment. If there's no time allocator, I suggest that you to make any comment, we just introduce the evaluator one after another and give your comment in the 5 minutes. The technical evaluator, the grammarian, the grammarian, the most common one is grammarian is a first timer or is a new member. They usually will mention the name, inaccurate pronunciation or sentences. They will mention the name. When you hear that, you want to remind the grammarian that you don't have to mention the name of improper sentences, incorrect pronunciation. Only mention the name of the people who have good phrases. Now, usually you pick up good phrases. Our counter report is really up to the R counter. There are many ways to present the report, but you can mention some good way that you see from other. Then the timer also the same. The timer also the same. The reporting of the timer. I have heard quite a number of times the timer report, they kind of incomplete. The GE did not say anything on this. I would suggest if you are the GE, you want to mention something because a timer is very important. We want to make sure the timer report on everybody's time in order for them to know if they are doing good in time. Now, I think I have made most of the points. Any questions? Have I covered it quite all rounded?
Yes, a lot. They covered a lot.
Yes, you did.
In order to do to be a very good GE, just now when the very beginning I told you that first of all you must know what is the right thing to do, what is a document way, what is a good practice way, all these things. Then then you will have an expectation in your mind. Before you even start, you need to know what you expect. You want to set your own expectation, okay? Like for example, as SAA, what do you expect to hear, to see? If you don't see the expectation, immediately you know what to write, right? If you have no expectation, you don't know what to expect, and then you don't know what to, that's why you don't know what to write, what to comment. That is why when you do evaluation, you also want to set your expectation. You know the objective of the speech. Then that is the expectation of you. Okay, you expect this speaker talk about this from this aspect, boom, boom, boom. If you did not see it, boom, immediately you know what you need to tell. Next question.
Elysia, whenever because I've seen a lot of people being a GE in our meetings, and when I attend others' meeting, it's like they have their own ways of being a GE. In your opinion, is there a right or wrong be a GE?
That is why I would like to suggest, I want you all strongly understand this. I don't approve those people who give their opinion, their feedback in a strong way. Certain GE, they come across too strongly. You feel that you have to do it this way, right? No, I don't agree. When you become a GE, don't come across as a strong way, making people feel that this you have to do it this way. No, you should be very amicably to suggest them and tell them this is an option that I offer to you. How to conduct a meeting is just a matter of an option. If a club that they have the right mindset, the right heart, they will appreciate all the options that you have proposed to them. Don't ever paint them an impression that they have to do it this way. This is the way I suggest because I am the GE. No, that is a wrong attitude.
How about Amir? Amir, do you have any question? Like you compare yourself, your performance, and also like what our Elysia today give on the training. Do you have any question for us?
I think Elysia did cover everything I need to know. So far, I've been following the documents, but I think I lack of experience, the practices and rules. The three parts I need to improve on that. I need to go maybe clubbing more than doing GE.
Yes, correct. Yeah, and for me, I have learned so much. I write so much notes. I need to digest, and
So I have a question. I mean, like it's more concerning about our club lah. What do you think that we should train our club member to be GE? Like we do you think that we should train our club member? Are they I mean, like our club member, give them opportunity to be general evaluated in our own club, or do you think that we should call GE from external club?
Okay, this is a good question. GE is not necessary, it's not mandatory that you need to get outsider. For us to get outsider to be a GE is a district culture. It's just a district culture, all right? Well, this is my suggestion. You can encourage your members who want to be GE, let the VPE knows. Then you make a name list of people who have the interest, want to learn to be a GE, and then you want them to pay attention to after what once they have mentioned their interest, you want them to give them like at least 2 months. I would say at least 2 months. Ask them to watch the GE, how is this thing. After that, when they're ready, yes, you can let them do it. You don't have to push them. You don't have to encourage them. I think this one is a natural growth. Like just like when you're adult, you want to get married. When it's a time you want to get married. So when it's a time you have the desire to be a GE, I think that is a time you are matured. Then you want to take the responsibility. You want to be an adult. To be a GE is an adult job. And then if this person have the desire to be a GE, this person should also have the desire to do clubbing. But of course, if this person have the desire to be GE but no time to do clubbing, that is a different case. Then you can see if this person is committed, you can see that if this person consecutively attending the meeting, then after 2 months, you think, ask this person, are you ready? If they're ready, yeah, we can let you test the water. Slowly groom them into it. You can always use your senior, like the day Amel became the GE. You can always have your senior to do it, right? This is a training ground for your own member too. You don't have to have an outsider to be a GE. It's not mandatory. It's a culture. Certainly, there is a good reason for you to get an outsider because as a member, you might be immune, right? Every day you see your own member, every day you see your own meeting, right? So you might be immune. I would not suggest that you totally get rid of the outsider, inviting outsider to be GE. You want to mix and mix. You want to sometime invite the outsider, sometime give a chance for your members.
Yeah. I think it's a good suggestion to have our own member. Maybe we have four times meeting in a month. Maybe we allocate one slot for our own members to do it.
Yeah.
Because this is even a problem to find a GE from other club. They only recommend their high committee to do a GE in another club because their own member is not confident to do clubbing at the club.
I think for us have a lot. I have done our question.
Is this session helpful?
Yes, this is really helpful.
Yes.
Yes.
If there's no question, then we will end the session.